Right, everyone. Now you'll hear a sparkle in my voice and diplomacy and excitement to 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 be with you. Okay, guys. So just to remind where we were last week, I'm going to just go to this particular slide, or the week before. I'm an awful human being, Pam. I just can't help myself. Right, we'll start there tonight. This is a really, really nice slide. It's not from the textbook, and it's not ideal. You'll have to paraphrase it and find a reference for it. More professional lecturers would have put a reference to it. The reference is cut off down there somewhere. But then again, I shouldn't admit that on a recording. Guys, so we just want to run through these again. So low cost provider. Oh gosh, we spoke about chickens previously. Oh gosh, now I remember. I was quite horrible to somebody about chickens. We won't go to chicken again. We'll stay away from there. Low cost provider, where every single intention is about reducing the input cost. It's about efficiency and passing those savings on to your customers. It's about competing on the basis of no frills. Back in the day when we had a couple of low-cost airlines, it would have been Kalula. It would have been, not that it was ever fair, Mango, but Mango was a bit of a cheat because it was constantly getting bailed out by government. Do we have any low-cost airlines? I don't think Kalula exists anymore. I'm sure they closed down. I don't think we have any others. Broad differentiation would be flying first class in lift, for example, or where you have first class seats available, or business class. I apologize. In SAF Air. So we see broad differentiation. It's about uniqueness, and it's about standing out from the crowd. It involves, if you are a manufacturer, if you're involved in technology, it involves a lot of research and development. It's about understanding your customer. It is about knowing what your customers want, and it's about constantly impressing your customers with the product offering. Guys, and then best cost provider would be this value for money notion. I don't know in terms of airlines whether we really still have best cost providers. I would imagine if you get in early enough on SAF Air, you can get best cost provider. I know that sometimes SAF Air has that deal where you can get a R5 flight. I can't offhand remember. And then a focused low-cost provider. I can't think of airlines that would fit into that, but we spoke about the sort of dense shops, those shops that sell post-sell-by dates places. You booked half R9 flight. Larry, you booked half a plane by accident. How much did it cost? You booked half a plane by accident. How much was the ticket? You booked half a plane by accident. Which airline was it? Goeie genigtig. How much was the ticket? Or the tickets? How with the 9? Oh my gosh, that is, oh my word, for 300. How many people ended up going on the plane? That is pretty cool, Gareth. You're 3 people. They must have hated you, boy. Yeah, gosh. Gareth, that's very cool, actually. So you pay 800 a month and 6 flights a month. I think that's pretty cool. That is really cool. Oh, it's the R9 flights. Yeah, 2 flights per month. And are those flights anywhere? Because my kid is in Cape Town, and I could fly down to Cape Town twice a month easily, just to escape from my wife. I mean, oh gosh, I'm being recorded here, but yeah, oh gosh, I'll have to edit this again. Um, Yeah, oh, that's pretty cool. Guys, yeah, focused low cost provider. I think we don't have that kind of airline. I don't know if you guys remember the Taxi Federation, Santaco wanted to launch their own airline. I don't think I would have gone on that. And there were lots of memes with chickens strapped to the roof and a range of other things. That would have been a focused low cost. I don't know what it would have been, but I wouldn't have wanted to guess who would fly it. And then focused differentiation. I suppose that would be people who hire charters and things like that. There are lots of people that do that. Guys, those are your options. This is a lovely slide. It's a lovely summary. This is a take-home exam, and this is a nice place to default to. Right. Now, we need to spend a bit of time on this. You are likely to see this. I think this is in the assignment as well, and I did discuss this in the assignment. So when we evaluate business level strategies, these are the different criteria, and I've kept the criteria separate, and we discuss each of those. So the first one, appropriateness, it is whether this is suitable, and it really is whether the business strategy fits perfectly with the organization's vision, whether it fits with its capabilities, and whether it fits with what the stakeholders want from it. Give me examples of business strategies that you believe are inappropriate for the actual brand, for the way we look at a particular business, at a particular brand, where their business strategy just doesn't gel with what they stand for anymore, where they've made changes that really doesn't match what they should be doing from a business generic. Well, their vision of electricity for all, well, maybe electricity for all sometimes. Yeah, I can't even comment about that. A couple of years ago, Audi launched a 2 liter entry-level A4. It had no frills, and I mean it completely reduced the value of other Audis at that stage. It was really an awful vehicle. It was like a Polo Vivo version of Audi, and it had made no sense. And it was like driving our Audi A4 Vivo. It made no sense, and it reduced trade-in values, and there was an uproar. It had no power. It was really an awful vehicle. I mean, this is now a good few years ago. And it was a strategy where they tried to do a low-cost type Audi, and that's not what they stand for. It made no sense. Anyone else think of strategies that are not appropriate in terms of what the organization stands for? I mean, there's one that has been a glorious failure in the last couple of years. It's also a car example. It comes from Mercedes. It bombed completely. Couple of people bought, but it's a glorious failure. Yeah, the Mercedes bakkie, a Nissan Navara with a Mercedes body on, but it was tuned to Mercedes specifications. I don't know how long it lasted. I think it lasted about 2 years. The Mercedes bakkie, I don't know if anyone remembers. I can't even remember what it was called. But it was a Nissan Navara, but Mercedes said it is tuned to our specifications. I don't know what it meant, but it was an awful vehicle. It couldn't tow, it couldn't climb, it couldn't go off-road. was a real piece of rubbish. Yeah, the Merc Bucky. Anyone else? The Amarok works, man. Oh yeah. Oh geez, the Ford Cougar. Yeah. No. Well. Yeah. It was. Yeah. Magic way of lighting your cigarettes most of the time if you couldn't find a lighter, the Cougar. So, sorry, that is a really inappropriate joke, but yeah, really awful. Oh gosh, I'm going to hell, mind you, if you drive a Cougar. Sorry, I'm going to stop now because I am being recorded. So. Oh, enough of those jokes. Yeah, it just didn't make sense, the Mercedes Bucky. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know Ford has had some clangers. They've had some clangers. But I think the reality, the Mercedes Bucky is such a classic example of where a brand had something inappropriate in terms of its own capabilities, in terms of its vision, in terms of its own own basic idea of what it stands for. I mean, it was awful. Yeah, the fuel tank fell off. Yeah, it was the Ford. It'll come to me in a second. It was the Ford. Nah, it'll be with me in a second. Guys, you don't need to do this. So when you answer this, please don't discuss the SWOT matrix, the decision trees, and this nonsense. Okay, the SWOT matrix, you would have done this in second here. What it is, you would list your strengths, you would list your weaknesses, you would list your opportunities, you would list your threats, and what most organizations dream of, and we'll talk about this again when we do corporate level strategies, is that you have a lot of strength and a lot of opportunities. This is the sweet spot in terms of creating strategies, because here you create strategies that capitalize on strengths and opportunities. This is where you have a really, really powerful organization. You have a star in terms of what we consider the ideal organization is in the BCG. Here, in terms of threats and strengths, you use your strengths to try and counteract the threats. In terms of weaknesses and opportunities, you try and use opportunities to counteract your weaknesses. Unfortunately, when you hear and you have threats intersecting with weaknesses, this is when you start thinking about getting out of a particular market, selling off, trying to move towards retrenchment, because that will ultimately take you to liquidation. This doesn't fit perfectly. The textbook is a little bit iffy here, because this is really a set of grand strategies, and this really does belong with grand strategies. I don't understand why the textbook has shoved this in here. This is a nice example of how to use the SWOT matrix. You would have seen it in second year, first semester. Decision trees look like this. It essentially takes you through a series of answers, yes and no. So you decide, do we want to adopt growth and no growth strategies? Again, this doesn't fit, and I don't know why the textbook has put it here, because growth or no growth strategies belong to our corporate level strategies, which is unit 3. And then you have these options. Now, yes, most of these will fit into both generic and grand strategies, but that is a grand strategy, that is a grand strategy, this is a generic strategy. But it really is like these are like branches in a tree, and depending on the answers that you get, you will go in a particular direction. Yeah, that's a nice layout of how to use it. And then scenarios. Scenario planning, again, is very much part of corporate level strategies. So it's a bit iffy as to why the textbook has put it here, but we can use it here. But for me, this belongs at corporate level strategies. Scenarios are suggested alternatives for the future. So we generally have scenarios that are contradictory. They are opposites of each other. So if we look at South Africa, and I'm just going to steal a scenario from Clem Sunter a few years ago, and if you want to see proper scenario planning, go and look at Mind of a Fox by Clem Sunter. It's a wonderful, wonderful example of what scenario planning is. In there, he had predicted 9/11, and in predicting 9/11 before it happened, the CIA had in fact interviewed him, but he, in his scenarios, spoke about the high road and the low road. And the high road was essentially what would happen if perfect, we dealt with issues around terrorism and religious differences, etc. The low road essentially took us to 9/11. He also had a high road and a low road for South Africa. High road was we had free and fair elections. Low road was we didn't have elections and we had civil war. And at the moment, if we were to build a scenario, it would be around the elections. What happens if high road, low road? I'm not going to play politics at the moment. For me, voting in South Africa is tantamount to voting for your favorite serial killer. The options are not great whatsoever. So I don't want to mention what my beliefs are at this stage, or voting for your favorite, I don't know, wasting disease. The options are so awful in South Africa. Sorry, I did share that. I'm being recorded again, guys. So if you're a member of any of the political parties, 083 655 7572. Okay, and tell them I think they all similar to serial killers or wasting diseases. Right, guys, feasibility, it really is. Can we do it with what we have? Will it meet our, have we got enough finances? Have we got enough resources? Will we be able to meet what the industry expects from us? You guys will remember key success factors from first semester. Who remembers key success factors from first semester? Those non-negotiables to survive in an industry. And then obviously what consumers and customers want. And then also, will it take us to sustainable long-term competitive advantage? Desirability, it really is, will it expose us to too many risks? Will it allow us to avoid vulnerabilities? You don't want to open yourself up to risk. Consistency, it's about congruence. Oh, absolutely. Our capabilities are very, very much part of our feasibilities. 100% right, Leah. Consistency is that everything is aligned with everything else, including our strategic intent, that our objectives aligned, etc. And then validity, that we base our strategies on valid, well-researched information, that it's not a gut feel. We look at customer numbers, we look at income levels, we look at those kinds of elements in deciding which generic strategy we adopt. And then attractiveness to stakeholders. There are many ways of making money. As a class, we can hire a ship that can break ice. Before we hire a ship, we can go to K-Way. We can buy clothes that will survive the South Pole. We can buy some baseball bats. We can buy some sharp knives, and we can travel to the Southern Ocean, and we can club baby seals to death. It's easy to do. They don't move much, and one shot with a baseball bat and they're dead. And we can skin them there. We can wash their blood off in the ocean, and we can shove it on the ship. It's easy money, guys. It's easy, easy money. However, is it the right thing to do? I don't kill animals. I eat meat. I am a, yeah, ek is Afrikaans, so you must know I eat a lot of meat, but I believe my meat comes from Woolworths. So, but the reality is there are many ways of making money, and your shareholders, your stakeholders, it has to be attractive. It's like whaling. We still see whaling happen. We still see dolphins being killed, and dolphins on average are more intelligent than humans, mind you. Dogs are more intelligent than the average human being, especially when you look at Trump supporters. So the reality is it has to be appropriate in the eyes of your stakeholders. I'm an awful human being, guys. You can see I don't like Trump. Don't like politicians in general. Right. So nothing dramatic, guys. These are not Henny's notes. So please don't reference me when you use the slides. Please use the textbook. Right. Any questions, any comments? I went through it fairly quickly. Before I say anything more inappropriate, let me stop the